So this is pretty cool. Years ago, my brother purchased this for me. It's a stand and it's made out of one piece of wood. It is whittled on down into this really cool stand, just like that. And you might ask, well, what can I put on the stand? Well, you can really put whatever you want. For example, you could put a wallet on there. You could put your computer mouse on there if you wanted. That's pretty good. Yeah, it holds it. Great. You could put I don't know, Stanley tape measure on there. You can put whatever you want. It's really multi-purpose. But I thought, how cool would this be to make this with Infusion and then get it 3D printed and then post it on my Maker World account? Check it out. There's a link in the description below where you can get to our Maker World account and download this for free. Please consider boosting it or liking it or doing whatever you want if you think it's pretty cool. So in order to do this right, we are going to have to take some photos of it. So here we go. We have to orient this and we have to pretend these two pieces are not there. Let's just work with one. And I'm going to pretend that this is normal. We're looking normal to this face right here. So this is going to be one image and we can go ahead and take a picture of that. And once we're done taking a picture of that, we need to rotate this 90 degrees. So don't go like this. Don't put your image like this because it's false. You can see that this, if we're looking at this normal, we need to rotate this exactly 90 degrees. And this is how the second image is going to look. So we can take a picture of that too. Now, once we've got our canvas images, we can proceed with modeling in Fusion. Let's get to it. So if you haven't tuned into the Learn It channel before, one thing that I love to do with these tutorials is I like to make them as real as possible. I'm going to show you the entire workflow here. I'm going to take you down, the path of a design thought process, problems that I run into, file maintenance, the whole 9 yards, how we're going to manage our canvas images, all of this so that you can benefit fully from this. I'm not going to do this perfectly because I find that is kind of frustrating for many new users or even experienced users. They say the tutorials go too fast. So anyways, let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that we have the correct location in our data panel selected, or the correct file location. So just a little trick, we can go back to our home over there. I'm going to go into Learn It tutorials. Let's go over to Learn It Autodesk Fusion. These are all my individual folders. If we go to design tutorials, you can see series 1 here. We have a ton of tutorials and you can view all of these on our YouTube channel. And in fact, if we go all the way back, if you're interested in a basic tutorial on how to work with forms, well, you can go to the piggy bank tutorial. So I'll put that in the description below. But I've created lesson 57, a one-piece stand already. I've already practiced. I've got the files in there already because I've practiced with this before I do these tutorials. I don't just go ahead and wing it. But here we go, lesson 57. Once we're in the location that we'd like, I'm just going to go ahead and save this design. So let's call this the one-piece stand. And sometimes you won't see it over here after you've saved it. You can always refresh by clicking on that right there and it should pull it up. Now, a lot of people will just go to insert and they will insert the canvas images. That is one way of doing it. That's completely fine. You can insert it from your computer. However, I like to put the images within my folder over here, within my project folder. So the way to do that is go to File and go Upload. And then you can just drag and drop the files that you'd like to use as your canvas images. So I'll do that. Now, if you'd like to access these images for yourself and go ahead and try and follow along with this tutorial, well, please see a link in the description below to our Patreon page. There you can become a free member or a paid member too, but all members will be able to access these images and follow along. Now, as you can see, as I've uploaded the files, there they are in this folder location. And I can double click on those. It would take me to my Autodesk account and I can download those files for future use. It really makes file management and keeping track of our files very easy. So now that I've got those canvas images over there, I'm just going to hide that data panel. And then at this point, let's go to insert and I'm going to insert a canvas image. And because I've inserted those images, there we have it. They're right within this folder location. So we've got the front and the side. I'm just going to insert the front at this point. And here the image is loading up there. Now we've got our face I'd like to select. I'm going to pick the front face of our view cube. So that's going to be the XZ construction plane. You can see that my hand is actually opposite. I was using my right hand to capture this image. So I'm going to horizontally flip it. And there we have our image ready to go. Now let's go OK. The next thing we're going to do is we have to calibrate it. So go over to your browser under canvases, and I'm going to right click on the canvas image and calibrate it. Now, why do we calibrate it? Well, because right now we don't know how big this image is. Now I can just go ahead and model it up and then scale it later on, but that has some disadvantages to it. So it's better to get your canvas image correct right off the bat. And so here we go. Again, right click, calibrate. I'm going to select the nose and then select the tail. And here you can see the canvas image from those 2 points is 1.6 inches. I'm just going to call it 6 inches. Now this looks exactly the same, but it is indeed different. Where as we model this part, the model will be exactly 6 inches from nose to tail. So there we have it. So at this point, let's go into our form modeling environment. This is what so many out there would like to learn, but it is daunting. It is difficult. So let's get into it. Click on Create Form, and it's going to take you into the form environment. I'm going to go back to the front view over here. And what we're going to do is create a face. Remember, in Fusion, left to right, top down. So we've got our Create drop-down menu here. We've got all these different tools to work with. We create first, we modify later. We can add symmetry, and utilities help to refine these different tools or make our design process easier. So let's go create, and I'm going to create a face. The first thing that we're going to need to do is pick our construction plane to work on. So we put our image on this construction plane. I'd like to create these faces on the same construction plane. So pick the XZ, and then here we have it. We just hover our mouse and it says specify first corner. So before we do so, I'd like to just emphasize that my thought process here is I know where all the peaks and the valleys are of this part. I have it in my possession. I can look at it. If you don't, you can just estimate where they are. For example, I'm going to look at the nose over here, and I can see that there's this little crest over here. That's one peak. As we go down here, this is kind of a low point where it transitions to the other side. We've got another peak that doesn't just go right down the center of the part. It actually goes this way. And then this is kind of a face that goes down there. We've got a peak over there. But anyways, we need to see this kind of in 3D with our mind's eye and work with it. But don't think too much about this. Just start modeling with me and let's have some fun together. So I'm also going to picture a line going through the center just as a reference. So here we go. We're on simple mode, and I am going to, well, actually before we start going, you can see that my mouse cursor is snapping to the grid. If you don't want it snapping to the grid, hold down Command on a Mac or Control on a Windows computer and it will no longer snap. If you let it go, there we go, it starts snapping to the grid. Anyways, I'm going to create 1, 2, 3, 4 T-splines. We need to have a minimum of 4 points. It's the best method to use. We won't get into the reasons, but let's just work on down here. I'm just going to break this up. There we go. Let's do something like this. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. There we go. Let's just keep on working around our part over here. And again, we're working with 4 points. I've already got this and these 3 that I can select. Beautiful. So this is kind of the first object that we're working with. If I go OK, you can see everything rounds up over here. Everything is looking great. So if I go back to face, and if I go back to that plane, and if I start selecting this again, it's going to break those into the faceted T-splines, which is fine. Let's do that. So I'm going to grab this over here, and let's make these maybe a little bit bigger. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to try and place these points at intersection points. Let's not worry about this peak right over here. I'm just going to maybe do something like this. Yeah, this is all part of the fun. There we go. And if I need to at any point, let's go back to, I can go modify, I can grab this over here, I can move it on over there. We're going to get into that in a little bit because I actually would like this creased, but we can do whatever we want. So don't worry too much about placing this perfectly at this point. Let's go back to face and let's keep on going. Again, I'm not going to worry about this peak right there so much. I'm just going to keep on tracing around. Now that we're here, I can go a little bit longer with these facets, with these T-splines. There we go. And of course, I can't see through this part, but I can estimate where I think it is. There we go. And again, don't worry too much. Let's do something like that. Okay. And I'm going to go back to the other side over here and do the same thing. Just work my way down. Perfect. A lot of you think I sound like Bob Ross. If you do think I sound like Bob Ross, comment in the comment section below. And if you have no idea who Bob Ross is, well, look him up. Here we've got a little problem. You see I've gone too far this way. That's okay. We've got to go to modify. I can grab this vertex right there. I can move it on over. Okay, I can do the same thing over here. Perfect. Let's go back to face. I'm just going to keep on moving on down over here. There we go. Something like that. I don't personally know if this is the best way of doing it, but the whole point of this exercise is to just get doing something. There we go. All right. Perfect. And we're going to finish this up. We can make these a little bit bigger. There we go. I don't really like how this is positioned, but that's fine. We can change that in due time. Alrighty. Okay, there we go. So we've got the basic shape of this, and I'm going to go into modify right now, and you can see, this looks pretty good. As soon as I finish that using the face tool, you can see everything has a nice curve to it over here. It's looking really good, but I would like to fix some of this, right? So I'm going to go to modify, and I can move this right here. And in fact, what I can do is, let's go to these guys, to the vertex. I'm going to move this on over. Just move these so that it's approximately the same. We can refine this later as we need. There we go. It's looking pretty good. All right. Something like that. I can always put fillets on these later, but this is looking pretty good. This is looking great. So let's go OK. Now, this is where the fun begins. I'm going to hide the canvas image, and here we have it. This is just a flat feature right now. Flat set of T-splines. So what I'd like to do is add some volume to it. So let's go back to modify. And here, if we want to pick a chain of something, whether it's a chain of faces or edges or whatever, you just double click and you can see how it picks that entire line. Now I'm going to hold down Command and double click that, and you can see that this entire chain all the way down is picked. And now we've got this adjustment handle over here where I can grab the arrow and give it a little bit of volume right there. So that looks pretty good. I think that looks pretty good. But before I proceed, I'm going to go cancel, and let's go back to our canvas image and remember that there's this peak that kind of runs down over here, right? I would like to add that right now. So I'm going to pick these faces, something like that. And let's go to modify, and I am going to select subdivide. Now, as soon as I do that, you can see that each of these faces is subdivided into 2 length faces and 2 width faces. I'm going to see which one do I want. I don't want to change the length faces. This has to be 2, but the width faces is going to go down to 1. So now you can see that there's this line running right down there. That looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks all right. So let's go OK. And do you know what? I guess I could do the same thing on these other faces over here. Let's do that. I'm going to make it nice and even. So let's go modify, back to subdivide, same thing. Let's turn the width faces down. And now we've got this extra set of lines over there. That's looking pretty good. Let's go back to modify, double click, hold down command, because if I double click that, it will get rid of the first chain. So you have to hold down command or control on a Windows computer and double click all of these. And I'd like these to be somewhat the same height. Let's do that. I'm just going to pull this on up. I don't know how far. I could measure this as well, but I know it's probably around this. I'm going to go to 1/8 of an inch, which is 0.125. There we have it. All right, so now we've got a little bit more, you can say a little bit more volume to work with, but this is just it's not an actual body. It's just a bunch of faces. So we're going to have to close this somehow. So if we go to Symmetry, I'm going to go to Mirror Duplicate. So if we go to Duplicate, we can pick our set of faces and then our mirror plane. Let's pick it right there. And then we include weld. So it welds the faces together and it puts a bunch of curves on there as well. So everything has this nice continuity. This is looking better and better by the second. So that's looking really good. Let's go OK. And now we've got this beautiful part. So as you can see, we've got this mirror line right now. So everything we do on the top is going to be mirrored. It's going to be reflected to the other side. So this is great. Let's not worry about the holes quite yet at this point. Maybe we can worry about these ones in the middle, but not on the tail or the nose. Perfect. So I'd like to fill these in. Let's just go do that. Let's go to modify and we're going to find the fill hole tool. So this is pretty cool. Let's go on in here and let's pick that. It automatically creates this beautiful geometry. But if we go to front, you can see that, wow, this has really created a bridge across those two that I don't want. I want it to go further up. So how I can do that is I'd like there to be more faces. So I could subdivide it and then pull it that way, but I'm just going to experiment. Just here's the thing. Let's go fill star. Maybe I don't like that. Let's go collapse. Collapse looks all right. Yeah, I think that's what I'd like to use. Let's use collapse. Now I can keep creases as well if I want. That's these creases in between the faces. I don't really like that. Weld center vertices. That's probably better if I use that right there. Yeah, weld center vertices. So there's this nice curve right there. That looks great. To go back to our previous tool, let's go right click, repeat fill hole, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. There we go. Weld center vertices is retained. Let's go OK. If you're wondering how I'm spinning around this object very easily, well, I've got a 3D connection. So if you're interested in purchasing one, please check out our bio page, which has all of the main pages that are related to the Learn It channel. So feel free to check that out. Now, as I go back to the canvas image, I can see that there's a lot that I can improve with this. Because the vertices have been welded, you see that the shape has really narrowed down, or it's not really the shape that we'd like it to be. So let's go back to modify, and this is where we're going to refine it even more. Now, here's a little thing that you need to remember about form modeling is if I select a vertex, I can move that if I want. Yeah, that's no problem. I can spend the time doing that. At the tail here, it's probably a good idea to do that. But with each of these connections, this chain of edges, I'm just going to double click. And then what I'd like to do is I've got this handle right here. I've got this handle and that handle. So this handle will adjust it in, I don't want to do that. Let's just go back to 1 on our scale. This one, let's see what this does. This changes the scale, but in which direction? Let's see. So does it change it in all directions? No, it just changes it in our XY on this plane. Now, if I go over here to the center and I do the same thing, it actually makes it bulbous in Z as well. So I don't want to do that. I just want to, I'm going to go back to 1. That makes it standard scale, but I want to use this handle right there. And as I use that handle, you can see that it adjusts, it conforms to the shape of that tail. Now, how do I want this angled? You see, I can grab this wheel right here and change the angle. Well, basically, I'd like it to be nice and even across. And so if it's too much like this, we're going to run into problems. But I'd like to make it nice and even. I can center it. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to do the same thing all the way down the line here. Just going to use that one scale handle, and I'm going to position it using the square one. And of course, I can change it using this angle too if need be. Now here, I'm just going to grab the vertices and I'm going to move it on over just like that. I'm going to follow it down the line so that again, I am kind of following the outline of our part over here. There we go. Let's bring that on over. And this is where, yeah, you can spend the time. You don't need to make it perfect per se, but you can spend the time if you want, no problem. All right, let's do this over here. That looks all right. I think we can just keep this type of look. That's no problem. I don't have to worry about creasing anything. Let's just do that. All right, let's move on down the line here. And I hope you're following along. It's a whole lot more fun if you do this on your own too, and practice along with me. Really improve your skills. There we go. That looks pretty good. Let's get the nose over here too. And for these, I'm going to just change the angle just a wee bit. There we go. Move that on out. Same thing over here. Something like that. Maybe these I can bring in just a little bit too. And as I change these, of course, it affects the whole curvature, which is great about form modeling and T-splines. Now let's get the inside as well here, because I don't know how far I need to move that up. There we go. You can see it's quite a bit. I'm going to move this vertex there too. It pulls the whole thing up. Everything you do has an influence on the other T-splines around the one that you're working on. So just keep that in mind. You know, don't start adjusting ones like crazy only to have, you know, further adjustments to make in the future. But basically, here we go. Yeah, just moving on around. I think this is looking really, really good. So if I go OK, now let's check out our shape. So I'm going to hide the canvas image. And I don't know about you, but that looks pretty cool. That's looking great. Now remember before I spoke about the side image, and do you know what we can do is let's add that canvas image. I should have done it before. Let's just go finish form. That's fine. Let's fix it now. So finish the form. I'm just going to bring the timeline back in time. So I'm placing the canvas image right there. We can make the original canvas, the front canvas image visible again. And let's go insert the other canvas image. So let's go side. And here I'm going to pick our YZ construction plane. And I'm going to make this nice and big right there. Make it the same size. There we go. I might have to bring this down a little bit. This is a little bit hard to see, but I want to make sure that the tail lines up with each other. There we go. I could also calibrate this, no problem. Let's go OK. And I can just calibrate it. Let's go to the side. Calibrate from nose to tail. 6 inches spot on. There we go. And now I'm going to right click and edit the canvas so that these are at the same position. So again, this is kind of hard to see, but the second image, the side image, is a little bit tall. I'm just going to bring it on down. The nose in the same position. And then the tail is going to be in the same position as well. So that looks pretty good. Just going to bring this on over. Yeah, that looks all right. And there we go. All right, so this is imperative to know. In order for this stand to work, we need to kind of twist the body. So you can see that the left side over here is pulled to the left, and this side is kind of pulled to the right. Without doing this, well, then the stand won't actually work at all. So let's go OK. Now as we bring our timeline back, our form model reappears, and we can take this side view and start adjusting it. So let's go back to our form, double click or right click edit. Sometimes double clicking doesn't work. But you can see, yeah, our form now needs to move quite a bit, and we can follow the path of our canvas image right there. So let's start at the top. I'm going to go back to modify, and here what I can do is grab, double click it, grabs that whole chain. Oh, and here we don't want to move that. Remember this is actually symmetrical. So I'm going to go cancel, and I want to break this symmetry right now, because at first it was okay to keep symmetry, but now I need to break it. So let's go to symmetry, clear symmetry. It asks for the surface. I can just pick that and go okay. Now that green line disappears and everything looks good. Very good. Now, has it welded the vertices, or are these sharp edges? No, they're welded. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So that's looking great. Go back to our right view, our side canvas image. Now as we adjust it, it won't be symmetrical along the, the XZ plane. It's going to be completely, well, we can control each of these T-splines as we please. Let's go back to modify, double click that, and now we can move that off to the side. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to move this on over. I'm going to adjust the size of it as I move it. So there we go. Let's do that. Very good. So before we continue, let's just say that you'd like to model this stand, but you don't have a 3D printer. Well, you can always head on over to our sponsor, which is PCBWay. There you can upload any file that you create within Fusion. You can send it on over to PCBWay, get them to quote it, whether it's some sort of plastic or some sort of metal. I've worked with PCBWay for over a year now, and they do a fantastic job. They're very easy to work with. But within September, PCBWay has some amazing promotions that I just want to let you know about. There is a TPU and FDM printing discounts. The heavier, the better. From September 1st on, you can enjoy increasing discounts on both TPU and FDM prints over 20 grams. So the heavier the item is, the better the savings. I will put a link to PCBWay below so you can check them out. But yeah, feel free. If you want to create a bunch of these stands, get them sent over to PCBWay, get them printed. That's great. Thank you, PCBWay, for your support. Okay, so as we adjust one, it adjusts the others too, so we can get in trouble very quickly. So we're going to go back and forth between both of them and adjust this as we need. So here with this, the head of this, I don't know what it is. I think it's like a fox or a bird or something. I have no idea. But anyways, here we go. That's kind of the head. This is the throat of it. So I'm going to move that on over. And as you can see, now I'm starting to form it along the side profile, which is really cool. Form modeling is one of my favorites. There we go. Let's keep on moving on down here. Now we've kind of got a little issue over here. And this is where this part of our form is going to follow this side of our canvas image. And this piece right here is going to follow that over there. So this is where it's a little bit more difficult, but we just have to use our imagination and take it slowly. So I'm going to grab this vertex right there and let's pull it on over. All right, let's do the same thing over here. Things can go pretty sour pretty quickly, but don't worry, just work on it. Just experiment, have fun. Now I'd like to grab a few edges over here. I'm going to grab 1, 2, 3 edges and I can move them all together. So let's pull that on in. And did I go too far? Yes, I believe I did. All right. Awesome. Now, which will I start with? I think I'll start with this arm that's closer to me right now. So let's do that. Again, I'm going to grab this whole chain, bring it on over. And don't start adjusting everything too quickly here. We're just going to bring it in line first of all. There we go. All right, how does that look? Yeah, well, this is going to be fun to work with. Okay, I'm going to bring that on over. And you can see that we've got some more volume to work with over here. So I'm going to pull. Maybe what I'll do is, let's grab these edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's grab all those edges right there and pull them on over. Perfect. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to grab all these, and remember, I can double click and it picks that entire chain. So let's bring this on over. There we go. I don't know. It's looking all right. Looking all right. Okay, there's a whole lot of geometry going on here. But just have fun. You'll be surprised that you'll be able to make this work. Yeah, that looks all right. Let's bring this on over a little bit more. There we go. Something like that. Something like that. This kind of flares in just like that. Now I'm making some assumptions over here with this shape, but that's kind of how it looks. I'd like this to be a little smoother. So you don't want to be jagged like that. Try and make it flow as best as possible. You can also change the angle of those if need be. Double click, change the angle. That looks pretty good. It's kind of following that as far as I know. Maybe this is sticking out a little too far. Yeah, I'm just going to pull that back in. Maybe pull this back in as well. Maybe do that one as well. I don't know, something like that. I think that looks pretty cool right there. Great. Let's do the same thing now with the opposite side. So I can actually flip this all the way over and do it from that view, from the left view, but I'm just going to keep it on the right, and we're going to adjust all of that. Now, to move all of these, what I'd like to do is grab that chain and then grab this chain over here as well. So remember, hold down Command on a Mac or Control on a Windows computer, and now I can bring all of that over. Now that went a little bit extreme, didn't it? Yes, it did. So that's fine. Let's just take it maybe a little slower now. There we go. Make sure to double click to pick the entire chain. This will probably change the angle just a wee bit. There we go. Bring that on over. So now you can see it's very smooth, just like that. And this is a little bit bulbous, isn't it? So I'm going to grab that, bring it on over. Nice. And let's hide the canvas images so we can see this a little bit more, a little bit better. Yeah, this is kind of pulled in too far. So I'm going to grab those and just pull them on out. There we go. Yeah, I think I've gone a little bit too far with that. I'm going to have to pull these vertices in. There we go. Just have fun with it. Just do it. Just get to modeling. And, you know, your proficiency in adjusting everything will come in due time. So there we go. I'm just going to model this basically looking at the object in hand and adjusting it correspondingly. So this is a little bit too radical right there. I'm going to pull that on over. Maybe that as well. All right. And I'd like this to be kind of the same size as this over here. It's a little bit too beefy right now. So again, if I want to change it, just double click and bring down that scale handle right there. Okay. So do that. All right. So this is looking really good, I would say. I think so. Maybe you don't think so, but that's fine. All right. Let's get it working here. Okay, so now you can see the shape is pretty complex, isn't it? And this is what makes this whole thing work, is that when we rotate this around or when we pattern it around an axis, this will work out well. Okay, let's go. Okay. We're still in our form modeling mode, and you can see that we've got the original model in the background. This is just to show us how we've adjusted it so far, if we like that. And I think that looks pretty good. I think the head over here looks a little bit, a little wonky. So I'm just going to adjust it as I see right here. I don't have to use the canvas image all the time. I can just adjust it so that everything's a little bit more even. Do not use symmetry at this point. Although you want these to be symmetric, it's going to make everything symmetric, which we don't want. But you can just visualize it and adjust it as you need. Very good. So let's go OK. And now let's go back to modify, fill hole, fill this. Now, do we want this to collapse? How do we want this to work? Do we want it to weld? Do we want it to keep the creases? I want it to keep the creases. And I want it to collapse, which means it will have the center point over there. So that looks pretty good. Now, let's see. Should I adjust this? Yeah, I can adjust it. Let's pick these 4 faces, modify, bring this on over just like that. Sounds good. I'd like this to have a little bit more shape to it. All right, perfect. Now, one thing I am going to do here is I'd like this to be the base, or this is going to stand on our 3D printing plate. And so what I'd like to do is actually extend this a little bit more, and then I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut it because I'd like this length to be approximately 6 inches from top to bottom. But I'll start running into problems if I fill this hole in. I'll show you what I mean here. If we go to fill hole and then pick that, you start getting into some problems with there being these valleys in there as well. So I'm just going to go cancel. Let's go back to modify. I'm going to grab that entire chain of edges, and I'm just going to bring this on down. There we go. I'm going to fill the hole in now. All right, let's just go OK. And now I can trim this so that it's a nice flat surface to work with, and that will be perfect for the 3D printer. So anything else? Should I change anything else here? I'm just going to look at the wood product that I have, the actual stand itself, and I think this actually looks very similar. Very good. Once all the holes are filled, if we go finish form, this turns into a 3D solid body. So there we go. This is looking great. Now, what I'm going to do is let's chop off the bottom. So if we turn on the origin, I can create an offset plane based off of the XY, and I'm just going to bring this down approximately. I can even turn on the canvas image on the side there, and I'm going to cut this right in line with where it's supposed to be. Yeah, there we go, minus 3.15, 3.125, something like that. There we go. Turn off the canvas, and we're going to split this body. So pick the body, the splitting tool is going to be that plane. And now you see we've got 2 bodies over here. I don't want body 1. I'm going to right click and go remove. That gets rid of it completely. Now you can see this is perfectly flat, which is exactly what we want. Now, I'm going to hide that construction plane. Just single click, V to hide it, or I can also go to construction, and there's the plane. I can make it visible or hide it, whatever I want. The origin here is the world origin. I'm going to hide that as well. Okay, very good. Now, let's have some fun here. Make sure to save. Make sure to save often in Fusion. Okay, so now if we go to circular pattern, I am going to select this body and the axis. Let's see what happens here. If I go 3, you can see all of these are meshing together, which obviously I don't want to do. So I actually have to move this part off to the side a little bit. So let's do that. Let's go to move copy, move the bodies over here. So we can do that. Now the problem with moving bodies is that our move command doesn't actually retain the distances. So if I move this 1.4 inches and go OK, if I go back to that move feature in our timeline, you can see nothing is retained right there. Nothing has been saved. So I don't really like that. I want to slowly adjust this so that it's perfectly positioned so that all 3 of these won't interrupt each other. I'll just be able to print it, and it will work out as expected. So what I'd like to do is turn this into a component. So right click the body and create component. So I'm just going to call this component 1. That's fine. Let's go join. Now that this is completely flat, I can pick the center point, and I'm going to join this to the origin, just like that. Now, this is the thing. With using joints, everything is retained. So if I move this 0.5 inches and go OK, if I go back to the joints in the timeline, you can see 0.5 has been retained, which is perfect. Okay, so let's move that on over. Let's go OK. And now let's pattern this and see what happens. So I'm going to pattern components now. Pick that. The axis is going to be right there. And now what do you think? Well, that doesn't really work with us, does it? So this I'm going to have to angle a little bit. And if we look back at the actual model itself, this entire thing is angled. And so what I'm going to have to do is this is going to have to, the nose is going to have to tip this way a little bit. So let's go OK. I'm going to go back before the circular pattern. And now we're going to have to angle this. So at this point we use move copy. I'm going to grab the body at the bottom. And now I can move it just like that. And I'm going to move it. I don't know how far I should move it, but let's go 10 degrees. That's fine. And let's go back here. And now this is where we're going to have some fun, as we have to make sure that we angle this so that nothing is touching anything. And of course, we're going to have to go back to the form environment as well and probably change things. You can see that the bottom is no longer flat, but this is the thing. We can cut it again. No problem. So let's go back and see what we need to change. Let's go back here to 5 degrees. And I'm just going to keep on adjusting this until it works. Okay, so what should we do here? What is the issue? Well, I'm not really sure. So we're just going to have some fun with it and see what happens. Maybe we've gone too far over. Let's go to 0.3. That's not over enough. So let's go over here to 0.6. All right. So that's kind of getting there, but not really. So, and do you know what? I think we've gone the wrong way. So I think I actually have to go this way. Okay. And then we have to angle it the other way. All right, let's try something like that. Too much? Let's go back. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, so I'm going to keep on just working with what I have over here. And I'm going to verify with the actual stand in my hand that this, believe it or not, this goes to the other side. There we go. We've got to go back over here. So I'm going to go back. Let's try 0.4. And our angle again, I'm going to angle it the other way. And let's not do anything too drastic. So let's do something like that. Now we have to use our imagination here. What needs to be fixed? Well, let's just do something like that. That's too far. All right, that's too far, but we're getting there. So here you can see that this is wrapping around and going in there. So that's fine. If I were to move it a little bit more, let's go over here and let's just have fun. Let's see if moving it to the left is going to help. That is helping. All right. So let's move it just a little bit more. I'm going to go to 0.2. Hey, there we go. So things are working out a little bit better. A little bit better. I think the angle is too far. So here we go. Let's go back. And instead of 5 degrees, I'm just going to go -2 degrees. Oh, we're getting even closer over here. This is great. So let's go back to our joint. I'm going to move it over one little bit more. All right. So how's this looking? That's looking pretty good. Are we hitting each other over here? I think we are. I think we are. So I think we can move this over just a little bit more. Yep. Let's go over 0.3. That's too far. So I'm going to move over 2.5 and then move this in. All right. So here we go. Oh, it's looking pretty good. Pretty good. But you can see the top has a little bit of spacing, whereas the bottom does not. So let's look at the root. The root piece is right here. Very good. And if I change the color over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, no, let's just keep it. Just keep it like that. Okay, so let's go back in our timeline. We're going to move that on over. And what do you think? The angle is a little bit too much. So let's go back and change the angle. I'm just going to drop it 1 degree. So -1. All right, we're getting there. We're so close. We're so close. So what needs to happen? Let's just look at this from the top view. This is our main piece. I'm going to go back And what needs to happen? So it needs to maybe rotate just a little bit. So let's go back to this guy over here, and I am going to rotate it just something like that. All right. Did that help? No, that did not help at all. All right. So I think what I need to do, again, this is our original piece right there. So this probably needs to go a slightly more of an angle once again. One degree at a time. And basically I just don't want it hitting any other of these components. So the top looks great. The bottom does not. All right, let's go back on over here. Sorry, let's look at the main component. This one, perfect. And I think it's easy if we go to the top. There we go. Let's go back here now. And what needs to happen? So again, this is the main component. If we move it a little bit this way, that might help. So let's go back here, and I'm going to move it just a touch. Oh, we're getting so close. Is it touching anything down there? I don't think so. I don't think so. Or it's very close. Let's move it just a little bit more. Something like 0.425. I don't know. Very cool. I don't think anything is touching. Yep, I think that's it. So the whole goal here is you're just going to slowly move things so that nothing is touching each other. That's perfect. That looks really, really, really good. So I think we can just go ahead and get this printed. Now, I do see a problem though, because let's see here. The faces, yeah, the faces are pointed away on the actual model. I could work with the angle of these a little bit more, but I think I'm happy with this. As long as they're printed without touching each other, we can utilize this as a stand, no problem. So this is looking really, really, really good. Very cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'd like to trim the bottom so it's nice and flat again. I'm going to do that before the circular pattern. So let's just go back there. I'm going to go back now to our split body. And is this completely below the XY plane? I think so. We can just pick that as our splitting tool. Does it go all the way through? Yeah, that's fine. If it isn't, we can just delete. I'll show you a little trick here. Let's go back to our component, back to our body. Let's remove that. And then this right here, if I delete that, it's going to heal that face and make it perfectly flat. So beautiful. I'm going to hide the origin again, and we're going to go back to our other models. And this is really, really cool. So let's hide that joint, just V to hide. The joint is over here in relationships. We can always go back to it. We can make it visible, or we can edit it, whatever we want. I can also click it in the timeline, no problem. So that looks pretty cool. All right, so let's save this and let's go over to our Bambu Studio. So if I go to up here to our file and then go 3D print, I have an H2D printer, so I can go right into the Bambu Studio and select my object. So here the object that I want to select is the entire assembly. We don't want to pick the individual components because I want to send this over as an entire assembly, and I can send it over as an OBJ. The cool thing about an OBJ format is actually if we go back to the model before we send it on over, I'm going to go A. I have saved my PLA as the actual colors, the names and everything, the specific colors, so that it will register automatically within Bambu Lab. So I'm going to just grab the cyan there. It will turn all of them the same color. Go close. Let's go back over to File and 3D print it. Select the top level component right there, our entire assembly. Send it on over to our Bambu Studio now. So as soon as we do that, we can go OK. And here we have it. So we've got our part ready to go. I'm just going to sync info of the printer right now, continue to sync filaments. I'm going to overwrite, synchronize now, and it actually didn't retain the color. So all I have to do is press, well, I click on the part itself, and then whatever filament I want, I'm just going to press 5 and it will change it to the right color. I can go 3 for red, 5 for blue, 4 for black, and so on and so forth. But there we go. Now, just for fun, I'd just like to show you Bambu Lab is amazing. It's very easy to work with. I'm just going to go to strength. I'm going to add an extra wall loop. And then here's a little trick. If you go to slice plate, this will have all of these different layers, which it's fine. But here's a cool thing. If you go to prepare again and go others, I'm going to go all the way down here. Where is it? Fuzzy skin. Okay. So let's go to all walls and the fuzzy skin. I'll just show you what it looks like with the default settings. If we go to slice plate now, you can see it adds this texture to it, which this is a little bit extreme. So I'm just going to bring this down to something like 0.15 and 0.15, something like that. Let's go slice plate. And now it's not so extreme for the fuzzy skin. There we go, slice plate. Beautiful. Okay, and you might wonder what these little white dots are. That's the seam. So that's where the printer starts with every subsequent layer. Okay, perfect. There we have it. So we've got this ready to print. I'm excited. I'm very excited. If we go to device, I'll actually show you what the printer looks like. We can press play and it will take you right on over to Learnit's printer, ready to go. There it is. We go back to preview and I'm going to print plate. So there we go. It's going to take almost 4 hours, 37 grams of PLA. Let's go send and let's get this printing. So as this is printing, if you have learned anything in this tutorial that you've appreciated, if you've learned a method, a technique, if you've liked this in any way, please consider liking this post. It means the world to us to have your support. If you love our channel, please consider becoming a YouTube or Patreon member. Patreon has a ton of features. We have a ton of extra tutorials on there. We appreciate all of the support and help that everyone gives to our channel. In fact, I'd like to just send out a thank you to all of our YouTube and Patreon Titanium and above members. If you have an idea for any other type of tutorial, please drop a comment in the comment section below. Thanks for tuning into the Learn It channel. Hope you check out our other tutorials and hope you have an awesome rest of your day. See you soon.